to the Phillips fam baby journey. I am Requill, and today I have a very special guest with me today, Myesha.
Hello.
We are going to be talking about our IVF experiences, just comparing what was similar, what was different, and also just sharing with anybody out there that needs some support while they possibly may be going through their infertility journey. Because I know when I had to start going through IVF, I felt that I was alone, which prompted me to start this channel. And I ended up meeting Myesha, even though we both live in Dallas. I didn't know her. We are from the same hometown of Toledo, Ohio. Even went to the same high school at the same time, but I was class of 2000, but I graduated from Scott High School.
I was class of 98, graduated from Start.
But I went to Start for my freshman and sophomore year. So I was there while she was there. But it was a classmate of ours, Darshell, shout out to you, hey girl, who messaged me via Facebook to let me know, hey, there's this amazing woman I think you should meet. She's going through some similar struggles with her fertility. And she introduced us. And what I think is so amazing about that is that all the time that I thought I was alone during my journey, once I opened up and started sharing, I received such an outpouring from other women sharing their stories with me. And so today, I'm gonna share Myesha. Well, Myesha gonna share her story with you.
Yes, so this is exciting.
It is.
And my story has been shared in small bits and pieces, usually with just really close friends and family. So to have a larger platform, I'm really excited about. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
For coming on my show. I'm just a little small YouTuber right now, but hopefully y'all gonna make me bigger.
Yes. So my journey started when my son was about 2. So I have a son who's working on his 5th year. He'll be 5 this May. And when he turned 2, we decided we wanted to start to try to add to our family. His father is an only child and just really didn't want him to be all by himself. And I was like, I was down with it. I'm from a family, I have 2 other siblings. And so I was like, yeah, he needs siblings, you know. And things just weren't happening, weren't clicking as easily as they had when we conceived him. At about the 6-month mark, we've been trying for about 6 months, I went to my doctor to tell her, you know, maybe we need to start investigating because I'm getting older. I'm a couple years older than I was the last time.
And so, do you mind sharing your age?
Yeah, no, so I'm currently 38. I birthed my son at 33. So when he was 2, I'd hit the 35 mark. You know, that's the magical number.
Yeah, that's when everybody started panicking, like, holy crap!
35 and up, oh God. You know, if you're ready, you better get ready right now.
Exactly. I'm high risk.
Exactly. You're old, you're high risk, you know the whole thing.
My eggs are dying at an alarming rate.
So yeah, I had already hit the 35 mark. We had been trying for 6 months, and I was like, let me just go talk to her and let her know I'm concerned and maybe we should look into this. So we did some investigating. She thought that maybe I wasn't ovulating on a regular basis. I kind of thought I was. She thought I wasn't, but we won't get into all that. And she prescribed some medication.
And let's pause for a second. Myesha is a nurse practitioner. So, granted, she's not, you know, specializing in infertility, but she do know some stuff about medical stuff. So.
Yes, and my specialty is women's health. So I do take care of ladies during their pregnancy. I prescribe birth control. You know, I help them through all those life phases. Infertility is quite specialized, and so I didn't have the largest working knowledge about infertility, but I knew basics about menstrual cycles and, you know, when to conceive, the right times of month to try, and, you know, all of that I was pretty well versed about. So I was kind of shocked when she thought I wasn't ovulating, but I went with it. Said, okay, well, let's see. We tried Clomid and took Clomid for about 4 months. Still no pregnancy. And I began having really horrendous menstrual cycles.
And so, and I was telling Myesha, because we had a little sidebar conversation before we started this video, that I took Clomid as well. So that's a similarity in our journey, but it's kind of like the de facto
really easy first step, right, to try to get you pregnant.
And it made my menstrual cycle cramps intense.
Right.
So I thought that maybe, once you started getting into the details, like, oh, it's just medicine, but keep listening. She gonna tell you why hers.
So Clomid really took menstrual discomforts to a new level for me. Mind you, my baseline discomforts with my menstrual cycle were pretty bad. So to have them become even worse with Clomid kind of was really scaring me. I went back to her and told her, I don't think I can continue to take this medication. And she was like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? I know you really want to be pregnant. I said, actually, I just don't want to have a period ever again, like for the rest of my life. So either we do have to hurry up and get pregnant so we can stop having periods, or we gotta come up with a different game plan, because I cannot go through another cycle the way that I've been going through them. So I presented some facts to her about endometriosis. I had been suspicious about endometriosis, doing my own medical research and just knowing my history of really painful cycles, which is, a telltale sign. So I presented her with some research, told her about my symptoms and how it kind of matched with the research, and she agreed that, we needed to investigate and really see if, in fact, endometriosis was the problem. So just to kind of explain endometriosis a little bit.
Yes, please do. Because I have undiagnosed infertility. They don't know why I was unable to conceive naturally.
Yeah.
She actually has a diagnosis.
You have a diagnosis. So endometriosis is where uterine cells, the lining of the uterus, or the endometrium, it grows every month. It's preparing your body for pregnancy every month. If you don't get pregnant, it all sheds and you have menstrual flow. Those same cells, endometrial cells, can somehow find their way outside of the uterus and start to implant on other organs. So common organs are other pelvic and reproductive organs, like your ovaries, your fallopian tubes. It's also a very common thing for it to implant on bowels. I was having a lot of uncomfortable bowel symptoms with my period. So we had a surgery to have to take a look inside and really see, do we see endometrial cells on other pelvic organs, and could that be the issue? So after surgery, she confirmed that my case of endometriosis was actually pretty severe, had caused a lot of scarring, a lot of inflammation, and so the tubes were not allowing eggs to travel properly.
She had a traffic jam.
I had a roadblock. More than a traffic jam. It's like, nope, you're not getting through.
Or return semi-truck. Like in all lanes.
Exactly. So when I came out of surgery, she told me, she was very frank, very honest, and she said it was the worst case of endometriosis she'd seen in her career. Wow. And she's not been at this for just a little while, like she's been at this for a while. She said, it's the worst case I've seen, and if you really desire to add to your family, you're gonna need to do IVF. I didn't really know how to take that. Shocked, and I was glad to have an answer. It's always, you start to feel better knowing that you're not imagining symptoms, you're not crazy, you know this shouldn't have been this hard, like what is wrong? So we had an answer for that. But I didn't know if I liked the solution.
Yeah, IVF is pretty intense. Going from, we're going to try to do this naturally, to needing to spend thousands of dollars, go to multiple doctor's appointments, make that commitment.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge commitment once you say that you're going to do IVF.
Yes.
It's a whole nother level.
It is. So we took some time. We really had to consider financially how it was going to work. Were we ready for the emotional aspect of it and all of that was going to be involved? It took some convincing.
How long did you wait to make the decision?
So I received that diagnosis and that advice in August of 2017. So we waited almost a year before we really mashed the gas and started the IVF process. Yeah.
Well, you definitely thought hard and long about it. So we have two different approaches to it. Literally, I had a very short window to decide if we want to do IVF because ours revolved around insurance benefits. It was either now or never. I was on, hey, let's just pause, try to get this baby naturally again, see what's going on. And then it was like, well, if you want to use these insurance benefits where you get $5,000 towards infertility treatment, you got to do it now. So I didn't get that luxury.
Yes, and part of us kind of waiting was also the treatment required for the endometriosis. So it was like, okay, well, you probably should treat this first and then think about IVF. So I was on a medication that lasted 3 months. I wouldn't have been able to do anything for those 3 months anyway, but still, even after that, we still took some time, really considered our options. We visited 2 different providers and kind of did some comparisons of, what to do, where to go.
What clinic did you end up going with?
So I ended up with DFW Fertility Associates. They have a large group. My doctor was Dr. Gata. He practices out of South Lake. And then they also have a Dallas office with, at least 4 other providers at the Dallas office. Yeah.
And how did you like your experience with them?
It was really great, really great. If there's somebody local and you need a referral or just kind of wondering where to start, where to look, they're an awesome group. DFW Fertility Associates. They're quite caring, concerned about your well-being, about how you're doing, and then also very informative. He taught us about the whole process as though I knew nothing, which essentially I did, but it wasn't. He didn't glaze over anything. Really took us through the nuts and bolts of the whole process, and they were successful. So I have no complaints.
And so, as she said, it was successful. So how many weeks are you pregnant currently?
I'm 24 weeks. 24.
And I'm 28 weeks right now. But when y'all see this, I don't know. I may be like 30 or 31. But when we filmed it, I was in my 3rd trimester. She was in her 2nd.
Just in the 2nd, headed that way.
Now, I have previously shared how much my IVF cost. I'm estimating that it was around $15,000 with the freezing of the embryos, the testing of the embryos, all the medication, the doctor visits, all of that. How much, and did you have, because I know you said finances played a part, did you have insurance cover any part of it? Because we did get a little help through insurance. They covered $5,000, so the whole thing would have been $20,000, but
wow.
We had
No, so I didn't have any benefits that would cover infertility. So we were really quoted a more of a cash pay rate, right? Which sometimes can end up being a little less than when they're going to bill through insurance. And I'm estimating that we're probably at 10. About 10,000. And maybe
I got ripped off. Somebody owe me some money somewhere.
And I don't know if I'm including the meds. This is my thing. So it may be a lot closer if I think about the medication. Are you talking about medicines too?
Yeah, the whole thing, medicine, because medicine was one of the most expensive things of the whole process.
Medicine probably would add a good more $4,500.
Okay, we pretty more because every woman needs a different amount of medications to get them to the correct amount of eggs they need to produce.
Right.
So I may have needed a little more medication to.
And I thought it was interesting that we both had to order more meds. Right?
Yeah.
They tell you you're going to need this much up front, and after you get going, and they're doing some ultrasounds to really see what your ovaries are doing, how many eggs are stimulating. Oh, we think you're going to need a little bit more medication.
And I'm like, how much more money do I need to spend for this baby? But you're already committed to the process, so you're just like, okay, you really have no choice.
Yes.
So how many eggs did you produce through your IVF cycle?
So when my eggs were harvested, there were 13 that were harvested.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. Not all of them fertilized. We had 11 that actually fertilized and made embryo. And then you get updates every couple of days. Every 2 to 3 days they call you with updates because there's no guarantee the embryo will continue to divide and produce and grow like they're supposed to. So out of 11, we actually had 6 that made it to a stage of life to where they could have a little biopsy taken and have it sent off for some testing to make sure that they would be normal as far as all their chromosomes and things. So we had 6, all 6 were tested, genetic samples were taken and tested. Out of those 6, we ended up with 3 healthy embryo.
Sex of them?
1 girl, 2 boys.
And we are having a
girl.
Yeah. So we both got little girls baking in the oven right now.
Right.
They can be little playmates once they come out.
Yeah, they'll be quite close in age. I think our due dates are just maybe 3 to 4 weeks apart. So
I'm doing June 21st.
July 17th is my due date.
Is that still a Cancer?
It is a Cancer, yes.
Very great sign.
I'm a Cancer. So is my mother. And so my mother has been reminding me that Cancer girls are just the sweetest ever.
Well, it is the truth. I'm arguing with you about that. At all. So how was your mental health when you were going through that whole process? Because I found it very hard because I felt alone. I didn't know any other Black women in my circle that had any fertility issues or underwent IVF or IUI, which is what prompted me to start this channel. And then all of a sudden, people were messaging me, girl, I had to do an IUI, or it took us 9 years, or I did IVF, or I had 2 miscarriages.
Right.
And like I said, I just felt very alone. So what was your mindset going through that process?
I stayed on an even keel, really. I didn't become overly emotional. I think I definitely had my moments. Probably more so before we decided we would do IVF. It was when I had those moments it was just really unbelievable. I can't believe that this is what we're faced with. Once we made the decision and we were going through the process, I took it all in stride. I really did. I was just like, okay, well, one day at a time. It is what it is.
You definitely got to stay positive during the process.
Yes.
But it's so hard because it's like so much money on the line and it's something that you want so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like you think about what if it doesn't happen?
What if it doesn't work? Yeah. I spent a lot of time talking with people, explaining what was happening. So I think sometimes that helped me even to process because like you, I didn't have a lot of friends or family that even understood what all is involved, like what do you have to do? And so as I would explain to people the medications that I was having to take and the next procedure that I was going to have and all of this thing, it was just that just kind of helped me process it and kind of normalized it a little bit. Not necessarily that this is quote unquote normal, but it was our new normal and we had to so.
Now, what would you say was the worst part about the whole IVF process? I heard you say medications.
Girl, you already know. You already know. I've been tuning in. I've been watching. And so I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that we both agree that the worst part are the progesterone injections in your butt.
Oh my God. I have more embryos remaining, and I definitely want to have another child. But the thought, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta do the shots again? Oh my gosh.
Yes. So the first round of injections are pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
And you showed us putting them in your abdomen, and those were kind of nothing to it. That's just kind of getting you stimulated and getting some eggs growing.
Yeah, not much pain involved.
It's not much pain at all. But when it is time to prepare for an embryo to be transplanted back to the uterus, and then to maintain that embryo, to help it stick and maintain a pregnancy, and those progesterone injections that are every single night. For how many weeks? It had to be
12 weeks.
Yes. So
the whole first trimester.
you start even before the transfer, and then you have to continue until you're at least 10 weeks pregnant, and it's every single night.
And so that's the difference because I took mine in the morning.
I took mine at night. Yeah, so you're supposed to do it at the same time, I guess.
Yeah.
So once a day at least or whatever. I did mine in the evenings, and it was the worst part for sure.
I recently joined a fertility group, infertility group here in Dallas called Braving Infertility Together. And I met some amazing women at that meeting, and they shared their journeys with me as well. And most of them said that they took their shots in the evening as well. And I was like, why was I taking mine in the morning time? Maybe I could have slept better at night if I took it because it did make me kind of tired during the day. I'm not quite sure if that was a side effect or not. But also hearing their stories makes me realize how blessed me and Myesha really are to be successful on our first IVF attempt.
Right.
Because some of those ladies, literally one of them had 7 failed IVF attempts. And I'm just like, first of all, what do you do that you can that you can afford to do this 7 times.
Right.
But at the same time, it's also, you know, my heart bleeds because I know how bad they want that child and what, you know, motivated them to keep pushing, you know, to get to that point. So what was your motivation? You know, once you found out you had endometriosis and you had to do IVF, you know, you could have just been like, you know what, I already got a baby. You know, we already got a son together.
Yeah.
Let's just call it at this one and be done.
Yeah. I think we both thought it was important that he have sibling, at least one sibling. You know, I guess I would have liked for him to have more than one sibling, but we're at the stage now where age and all of these issues, we're just gonna take our 2 and be okay. But so yeah, we didn't necessarily want for him to be an only child. I would just think about the family dynamic sometime and who was going to take care of me, and I'm like, well, you know, to have that all on one person, like maybe he needs some help taking care of us.
But you can't,
when we get old.
You can't have kids because it makes me feel guilty. You can't have kids expecting them to take care of you when you're old.
Yes, you can.
Because they may not like you.
No. We're going to be great parents. They're going to love us to death. They're going to want to do anything they possibly can for us when we get old.
That is the case. I pray that that's the case. So the other 2 embryos that you have remaining.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that's sitting on my heart. Because I've been trying to convince my husband to let's do twin boys next time, and he like, no. And then, you know, and then we'll have the other girl later or something like that. So like just do it 2 more times and he's done. Yeah, and be done, and use all the embryos that we know have been tested and are good. But I don't know if we're going to get to that point to use all 4 of those, well, I'm sorry, all 3 remaining embryos.
Yeah.
So have you thought about those 2 remaining?
Yes, and so I think you've mentioned in previous episodes how there's some options, like on what to do, and it's kind of strange having to think about that, and you probably don't think about that in advance, like going into IVF.
You just think about the one you're trying to
have.
have.
You haven't thought about that, and they start asking you all these questions about what to do with the remainder, and it was like, oh. So we decided that if we don't use them, that after, I don't know, however long they're stored and whatever the case may be, that, or if anything happened to us, if it was death of one of us or a dissolution of our relationship.
But they're going to be together. That's not going to be an issue.
That those 2 embryos would be donated to an infertile couple.
And that is what we chose as well.
Did you?
Yeah, that's what I think that we would donate them. But it's kind of like,
are you having a second thought?
Well, that's what the paperwork says. That's what our paperwork officially says. Yeah. But I'm at the point like, well, I want all my babies. Yeah. What if I give away to Beyonce?
So I have the second thoughts about that. He really convinced me to do the donation. I probably honestly would have chosen to discard, right? And I know some people out there are clutching their pearls, like, but I don't know. I'm a little bit more.
Yeah, to each their own. They can clutch them all day.
I just thought that I don't know if I really want to like always know that there's some part of me out in the world that I don't know about, and that somebody else could be raising them, and so maybe that's selfish.
It's very selfish, and I know that I'm selfish, and that's why I struggle with my decision to donate them if something happens, and I'm just like, so the only logical answer to me is I just gotta try to have all these babies. But
we're not gonna have them all. I just have 2 others, but no, maybe one, and that's a real strong maybe. Like I really feel like we're probably complete. So there'll be 2 boys out there that could potentially be donated to an infertile couple.
And that is going to be a blessing to somebody.
Yes.
Well, Myesha, I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Make sure y'all subscribe to this channel if you have not already, because I bring great content, as you can see. Is there anything that you want to share with the group before we leave today?
If there's anybody watching who really is in the midst of their own journey, or considering the journey, I say just, stay positive. It can happen, and you're not walking the journey alone. Reach out, talk to others. It truly helps. Yeah.
All right. And we out.
Bye.